You've been out and about, you've been chatting to the locals. How are they feeling about having to now wear masks?
G'day, Danica. Look, to be honest, we were telling people the news. I'm surprised that an order that's going to be statewide, because somebody from Brisbane went to Gladstone, which is 16-hour drive away from here, 1,100 kilometres away, that they would have sent a text message out. They can do that if there's a flood or a bushfire, but for some reason they haven't told people what's due to kick in and is a fine from 5 o'clock today. We had a chance to talk to some people on the streets, including some businesses who, look, they are all saying the right thing, and this is a pretty easy place, but the sense of this place is that coming into that Easter long weekend, coming into the school holidays, coming into those cheap airfare flights, they really don't want this stuff. How do you feel about you got to slap on a mask later today, according to the Premier?
Here in Cairns?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to ruin my holiday a bit.
Oh, mate, it's an absolute joke. No words can describe our government at the moment, mate.
A little bit apprehensive, but I think it'll be fine. Yeah, if they can get it under control over there, I'm sure we'll be right.
Yeah, because the sensation in Cairns is, and look, and again, it's one of the wonderful things about a Queenslander. If I could have the blood transfusions to become one, I would. They're pretty easygoing people. They obviously don't want to rock the boat. But I've got to say, Danica, and obviously I'm going to rip in hard about this tonight. This is a completely unnecessary lockdown. Put simply, as the Premier said today, it's an admission yet again that contact tracing doesn't work, that hasn't been working, that they don't have the requisite people in place to put it in place. Everyone's got to go home in Brisbane, and the entire state's got to slap on a mask. And also, don't forget, Dr. Jeanette Young had said just last month that there will be no more lockdowns in Brisbane. So this is something that just makes very little sense to me. But I understand that this is a part of the state that at the last state election backed in the Labor Party hard because, put simply, if you're able to say, like our previous guest did, that, well, go home for 3 days now and you can stop a tsunami, then people will end up always doing that. But it's a little bit like saying, because I put out this grass fire, I was able to stop the entire bush burning.
And Paul, you spoke to a number of people there and they're all saying, well, it's thrown holiday plans into chaos. How big of a blow is this to tourism operators, many of whom would have been hoping to get back on track over Easter, especially with those half-price fares being offered?
Well, look, the key's going to be the borders, to make sure that the borders stay open for as long as possible. We've got to hope that when there is, in my view, the overreaction about the very localised lockdowns, that you don't see the rest of the country say you can't travel to places apart from central area of Brisbane. That's what we need to get to. But look, the truth is there is a vaccine. It's taking too long to roll out. In part, the Queensland government is responsible for that. But I also think that there's a political dimension to this too, Danica, where the Democrats in the United States, they learnt that if you keep pounding local economies, eventually they punish the federal government. And the entire political strategy of the Palaszczuk government was to keep people afraid during a pandemic so they would win an election. They promised they would have a higher unemployment rate than the rest of the country all the way until halfway through this year. They're still above that national average, yet they went on radio today, Cameron Dick, the Treasurer, telling everyone that Queensland's doing better than anywhere else in the country. So, put simply, if you feed people a mushroom diet, guess what ends up happening?
Well, it does look pretty idyllic where you are at the moment, Paul. Blue skies, blue water. I just want to ask you, what do you think that this does to confidence? Because realistically, who would want to get on a flight to Queensland right now?
Look, I hope people do get on those flights. I hope that when those discount flights are in place, you either book them for this school holidays, but more importantly, a place like this, g'day mate, is we're going to end up that, you want the winter holidays to come up here, and hopefully by the time you get to the winter holidays, there's more of a vaccine rollout. That's why we're here. We are here to celebrate those discount flights, because places like Cairns don't have international travel. We need as much domestic travel as possible. And most of the airlines now have got to a position where they'll be able to give you a credit if at the last minute something like this happens. But, I've got to say, there is a deflated sense in the air of anyone who owns a business. But the vast majority of people don't own businesses. They work for businesses. So they kind of take it in their own stride. But, make no mistake, while I'm holding back now because we're in the middle of the day, once we hit prime time tonight, I'm going as hard as I possibly can, and I'm going to lay out for people at 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time or 8 p.m. Queensland time the absurdity, the timeline absurdity of what's happened today. They deserve maximum criticism, but they're not going to get it from too many people, so I suppose that's all that really matters.
All right, a big show ahead. Paul Murray live in Cairns, thank you. And stay tuned to Sky News for Paul Murray Live, Our Town, live from Cairns. That's at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time.